This is week 5 of our CEO Roundtable series, the 6 Dimensions of Live, brought to you by Freeman, or sponsored by Freeman, brought to you by MDG and CISO. And for those of you who missed last week, you missed one of the best speakers that we've had to date. It was great. For those of you who were here, I think most of you enjoyed Sherry Huss about as much as I did. Basically, she talked about the importance of community now more than ever, and how, if we're going to serve a community with an event, that we need to be part of that community, and we need somebody working within our organization that essentially thinks about community 24/7. She also talked a little bit about her experience producing events during the recession of 2008, 2009, and how she used that time to sort of take a step back and create some partnerships and get some funding and kind of create a new playbook for moving forward, which included licensing agreements, and sort of encouraged us to think about how we want to be spending our time right now as we're sort of on this break from live events. And she also encouraged us to try new things. She sort of talked about being in the wild west of event development right now, and said there's no better time than the present to experiment and not to be afraid to try and fail, because our audiences are now more forgiving than ever. So it was a great talk. The video is still available if you missed it. I would encourage you. This is a good one to go back and listen to. And I know this week's is going to be equally as wonderful. This week's topic is live is familiar and new. So we sort of know that the events that our audiences are going to be returning to, at least initially, are going to be a lot different than those that they remember. And we also know that the businesses that we're running today already look a lot different than the businesses that we were running before COVID. So how can we be the leaders that sort of replace the unease associated with disruption with the excitement and new possibilities associated with transformation? And that's what Bruce and our next speaker are going to discuss. So with that, Bruce, I'll hand it over to you.
Thank you, Kimberly. Yeah, I think we're really in for a treat this week. We're gonna, as Kimberly said, we're gonna talk about the idea that that live is familiar and new, that what our experiences are going to look like, I think is going to be, pretty significantly changed. But what dimensions of them do we really love and cherish and hold on to, and how do we kind of make it, everything that we really love about live, and at the same time embrace possibility. And that's what Marc Mattieu is here to talk about. Marc is one of the most creative and really amazing people I've ever worked with. Marc was the head of global brand for Coca-Cola. He was the head of marketing for Unilever, the CMO of Samsung, and is now head of transformation and innovation for Salesforce. He has really helped organizations, led organizations through the kinds of transformation that we're all living through. And I thought he would be a really wonderful person to talk to, on this session. So what I'm going to do this week is I'm going to stop sharing and not have the slides showing, and really speak directly with Marc about a series of questions that we're going to work through. When I first moved to Chicago, I worked with Mayor Daley on some work on the city. And one of the things that Mayor Daley introduced me to was a really interesting political idea that I realized is central to success in change initiatives. Anything that when you're really changing something, it's a great idea to start with. And he talked about reinforcing stability to help people embrace change. And that idea that we should begin with doing the things that give people confidence and stability in order that they can actually from that place, engage in thinking about the future, that they're a lot more likely to do that if they take that approach. So we want to start from that idea. And the first question I have for you, Marc, is when we're faced with the profound reset that we're living through, do you see it as an opportunity? And if so, what way?
Yeah, I often say, hi, Bruce, and hi, everybody. I often say people are not afraid of change. They're afraid to be changed. And very often the challenge is people are afraid of becoming obsolete, of not being able to adapt. And the reality is, in that particular case, the change that we're going through is indeed scary, but at the same time is an incredible wake-up call to humanity. I mean, one of the most formidable articles or letter I read at the beginning of COVID was Letter from COVID to Humans. And it was kind of like, now that I got your attention. And it's true not just for that, but when you think about the issues like environment or social justice, a lot of the issues we've been carrying for decades, if not centuries, and accumulating, I think that for the first time we have something that has forced us to change our behavior, because it's lasting long enough that we can actually, appreciate what we like, but we can also appreciate what we miss. And I think that it helps us think about a world by 2050 that is very different, not just theoretically, but hopefully practically, because we are getting used to, unfortunately, to lockdowns. We're getting used to not being able to hug one another. And we also, getting used to, I'm currently in southern France, and there's never been more beautiful flowers, and there have never been so many cicadas in the garden of my parents, because they probably benefited from less pollution, than ever before.
Mm-hmm. So in your experience, I mean, think about the work that you did with Coca-Cola to kind of, I forget the phrase you used exactly, the
Manifesto for the revival of an icon.
Uh-huh. Like that kind of thinking where it's kind of reinforcing the history of the brand, but bringing into the future. I mean, I think that's happening for all of us right now.
It goes back to that point about people are afraid to be changed. If you arrive with a big change agenda and don't capitalize on, what people, reinforcing what, as you like to say, that what people value and reinforcing the existing, the things that are working, you probably scare them too much. And when I arrived to reposition brand Coke globally, and that was more than 10, 15 years ago. But I knew the brand had been flat for 6 or 7 years, and I knew that we needed to make some drastic changes. But there was one thing I wanted to not only keep but reinforce, which was the fact that Coca-Cola was an icon. And so we called it Manifesto for the Revival of an Icon, kind of to tell people, you know what, that icon that you love, we agree on that. Then, we're going to need to revive it because it's not what it used to be. And at the same time, Manifesto, it's going to be a little bit dirty. It's not going to be business as usual. It's not going to be a smooth transition. And not just the vocabulary, but, the visual language that we used was, let's be honest, a little bit revolutionary. We took the old, the Coca-Cola logo, the Coca-Cola bottle, but we, brushed it up. We made people understand, even in internal communication, that we were up for change to reestablish the past. There was one sentence, one quote I love, which is, to pay proper respect to the future, you need to pay proper disrespect to the past.
That's great. That's great. So when we think about that, if we take that thinking and apply it to live experience and the role it plays in marketing, how can we kind of reinforce the familiar and at the same time inspire people about the future? Like, are you seeing a kind of role for live experience in marketing in that way?
Yeah, and I think that I think that there is more and more going to be a much more radical how do you say, pushback by customers of brands or companies that do not value, serving them and bringing them an experience that works for them, that shows them that you care about them, that you value them, and that you are not just trying to sell them something. Again, because I'm in southern France at my parents' house right now, there is a whole debate pro or against in the neighborhood to build a giant superstore for sports gear, sports goods. And I really think that we shouldn't even have that debate right now. A sports company, especially post-COVID, should build a live experience sports facility, especially it's outside of downtown, it's in a green neighborhood. They should actually build a sports facility live to enable live experience. And yes, sell products along the way, because most people don't go there with their equipment, or they realize along the way they don't have it. And then probably 80% of the people, because humans are fundamentally lazy, won't do the live experience. They'll just do the shopping. But you inspire people to do a live experience, and I think that that's where we're gonna, because of we're going through what we miss and what we value right now. I think we're gonna force somehow brands to be much more committed to providing us experiences, not just products, not just sales, that enrich our lives.
Right. So finally, you're responsible for transformation and innovation at Salesforce, which has a massive presence in our industry with Dreamforce. What areas of focus are you thinking about?
To me, the question beyond Dreamforce and so on is indeed, we somehow, I think we've all valued what Zoom and all the digital connection has brought us. And the reality, I think that it has brought us the ability to be much more efficient in short meetings that basically enable to bring more people faster, together to progress an agenda. But what it doesn't do, it doesn't enable, or it's difficult to use it to start something new, to dream bigger, to actually have the side conversations. I often say what we miss right now is when you have a meeting with a group of people, yes, we lose 5 or 10 minutes in the elevator, but the 5-10 minutes are not lost. People actually talk. Body language, people talk. when
Yeah.
you're in a conference setting or in a live meeting setting, you have, you know, the meeting conversation and the bar conversations. I've been going to the TED conferences, you know, many times. You know, a lot of people never make it to the conference room, you know, because the TED Talks are online.
Uh-huh.
But what's valuable is all those conversations that you have in the corridors. And I think that unfortunately, you know, and maybe there is a business, you know, a startup opportunity there. But I think the non-Zoom, the anti-Zoom, you know, the things that are not pre-programmed and that random, you know, bumping into somebody, you know, that you met in a meeting. I think I would love, for instance, at the end of my day, if I had a 30-minute Zoom where I would have 6 people meet randomly out of all the people I've Zoomed with during the day. And I can imagine having Bruce and then having, you know, somebody from Adidas with who I was before,
Uh-huh.
and somebody, you know, from Fisher Price,
Uh-huh.
and somebody, and one, by the way, is in Germany, the other one is in LA, I'm in France, you know, you're in Chicago. And suddenly we could have, you know, time difference, you know, permitting, a glass of rosé together. And that doesn't happen today.
Uh-huh.
It happens in life.
Uh-huh.
And I think that's what we are gonna, and I can't see of a startup that could do that, although I think it's a cool idea. But we would need to find a business model for it.
All right, Mark. Well, thank you so much for your comments. It's really always wonderful to see you, and really delightful to hear your thoughts.
Well, good to see you too, and have a great sessions.
Thank you. Thank you. And now we're gonna go to our breakouts. So thank you, Mark, for joining us.